The crystalline spires of Luminara's capital city pierced the lavender sky like frozen flames, their surfaces refracting the light of 3 setting suns. Commander James Barrett stood at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Harmony, his breath caught in his throat. After 6 months of faster-than-light travel, humanity's first ambassador to the stellar dominion had arrived. Quite a sight, isn't it? Captain Reena Patel's voice broke through his reverie. Makes our tallest buildings look like children's blocks. James nodded, adjusting the collar of his formal uniform. Let's hope we can measure up in other ways. The weight of his mission pressed down on his shoulders. Earth needed this alliance. The galaxy was vast and often hostile, and humanity's expansion into the stars had made them both friends and enemies. The stellar dominion, with its ancient civilization spanning thousands of worlds, could tip the balance. The Harmony glided through layers of shimmering force fields, each one scanning the vessel before allowing passage. James watched the procedure with diplomatic patience, though his heart raced with anticipation. The Luminaran people were known for their incredible technological achievements and mysterious culture. Few humans had ever set foot on their crystalline world. The landing pad was a platform of pure diamond, surrounded by honor guards whose armor seemed to be made of living light. As James descended the ship's ramp, he was struck by the ethereal quality of everything around him. The air itself seemed to sing with subtle harmonics, and even the ground beneath his feet pulsed with energy. Commander Barrett. A tall Luminaran official stepped forward, his silver skin catching the light like polished mercury. I am First Speaker Theron. Welcome to the Heart of Stars. James bowed precisely to the degree specified in his cultural briefings. The people of Earth are honored by your welcome, First Speaker. We look forward to building bridges between our civilizations. That's when he saw her. Princess Vera emerged from behind a column of light, and James felt his carefully maintained diplomatic mask slip for just a moment. She was tall, like all Luminarans, but where they were silver, she was gold. Her skin had a warm metallic sheen that shifted with every movement, and her eyes were the color of distant galaxies. A crown of crystal flames adorned her head, dancing with internal light. Commander, she spoke, her voice carrying harmonic undertones that made James's skin tingle. I am Princess Vera, keeper of the stellar flame. I will be your primary liaison during your stay. James bowed again, deeper this time. Your Highness. I am at your service. When he straightened, their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. In that moment, all his years of diplomatic training threatened to crumble. The next hours passed in a whirlwind of introductions and ceremonies. James was shown to his quarters in the Crystal Palace, a suite carved from a single massive gem, with windows that could become transparent or opaque at will. The furniture seemed to grow from the floor itself, and the air was perfumed with strange, sweet scents. That evening, a formal dinner was held in his honor. James sat at a table that appeared to be made of frozen starlight, sampling dishes that defied Earth's culinary categories. Princess Vera sat across from him, and he found his eyes drawn to her throughout the meal. Tell me, Commander, she said during a lull in the conversation, what drives humans to reach for the stars? Our records show your species achieved space flight mere centuries ago, yet already you've spread so far. James considered his answer carefully. Hope, Your Highness. And curiosity. We've always looked up at the night sky and wondered what's out there. Now that we can reach it, we can't help but explore. Hope and curiosity, she repeated, something wistful in her tone. Simple words for such powerful forces. The simplest words often describe the most profound truths, James replied, surprised by his own candor. Vera's eyes sparkled with interest. You speak like a philosopher, Commander, not just a diplomat. Perhaps the best diplomats must be both. As the evening wore on, James found himself engaged in increasingly personal conversations with the princess. She was brilliant and insightful, challenging his perspectives while sharing her own unique views. Her knowledge of human culture was impressive, but more than that, she seemed genuinely fascinated by his experiences. Later, standing on a balcony that overlooked the Crystal City, James watched the 3 moons of Luminara rise. Princess Vera joined him, her presence both thrilling and unsettling. "Your world is beautiful," he said softly. "Yet you seem troubled," she observed. James turned to face her. "Beauty can be dangerous, Your Highness. It can make us forget our duties, our responsibilities. Or perhaps it reminds us of what those duties truly serve," she countered. "Is not the pursuit of beauty, of understanding, at the heart of both our people's ambitions?" Their eyes met again, and James felt that same electric connection. He knew, in that moment, that his mission had just become infinitely more complicated. The fate of 2 civilizations might rest on his ability to maintain diplomatic relations, but his heart was already betraying him. As the moons climbed higher, casting rainbow shadows through the crystal spires, James Barrett, Earth's first ambassador to the stellar dominion, realized he was falling in love with the one person he absolutely could not have. Dawn broke over Luminara like a symphony of light, the 3 suns rising in careful sequence to paint the Crystal City in cascading colors. James Barrett stood in his quarters, reviewing diplomatic briefings on his datapad, but his mind kept wandering to the previous evening's conversation with Princess Vera. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. "Commander Barrett," first speaker Theron's voice resonated through the crystal communication system. "Your presence is requested in the Grand Council chamber." The council chamber was a vast cathedral of light, its walls alive with flowing data streams and historical records. As James entered, he noticed the tension in the room immediately. A group of Luminaran officials stood in heated discussion, their silver skin flickering with agitation. "Commander," Theron's voice was grave. "We've received disturbing reports from our outer territories. Several human colonial vessels have been detected in restricted space." James felt his diplomatic training kick in. "That's impossible. All Earth vessels have strict orders to." "Are they?" A new voice cut through the chamber. Counselor Zara, head of the Dominion Security Division, stepped forward. Her silver face was set in hard lines. "Or perhaps Earth's diplomatic overtures are merely a distraction while you position your forces?" "Counselor," Princess Vera's voice rang out as she entered the chamber. "You overstep. Commander Barrett's credentials have been verified by our deepest protocols." James watched the interplay of politics with growing concern. He knew Earth's military had been pushing for more aggressive expansion, but surely they wouldn't jeopardize this mission. Unless... "Your Highness," he addressed Vera formally, "with your permission, would like to contact Earth Command directly. If there are vessels in restricted space, they're either lost or operating without authorization." The next few hours were a blur of encrypted communications and diplomatic maneuvering. James discovered that a faction within Earth's military, led by Admiral Hammond, had indeed launched unauthorized reconnaissance missions. The Admiral believed the Luminarans' technological superiority posed an existential threat to humanity. In his private quarters that evening, James paced restlessly. A soft shimmer in the air announced Princess Vera's arrival through a hidden portal. "You should not be here," he said, though his heart leaped at her presence. "Perhaps not," she agreed, "but there are things you need to know." She waved her hand, and a holographic display materialized between them. "These are internal communications from my father's war council. There are those among us who believe an alliance with Earth would weaken the Dominion." James studied the data streams, his stomach tightening. "They're preparing for war?" "Some wish it." Vera moved closer, her presence electric. "They fear change, fear the chaos humans bring to the ordered stars. But others of us see opportunity, see strength in unity." Their eyes met, and James felt the carefully constructed walls of diplomatic protocol crumbling. "Vera," he said softly, dropping her title for the first time, "we're playing with forces that could tear both our worlds apart. Then we must be stronger than those forces." Her hand touched his, sending sparks of energy through his body. James, I've accessed the ancient archives. There was a time, millennia ago, when the Dominion welcomed other races, when we shared our knowledge freely. We were greater then, not lesser. A commotion in the corridor interrupted them. Vera quickly activated her personal cloaking field as first speaker Theron burst into the room. Commander Barrett, he said urgently, we've lost contact with 3 of our outer beacons. Your Earth vessels are on the move. James straightened, his mind racing. Let me handle this, first speaker. I can contact Earth Command directly, bypass the regular channels. See that you do. Theron's eyes narrowed. The Council meets at dawn. If we don't have answers by then, there are those who will call for immediate military action. After Theron left, Vera reappeared. This is orchestrated, she said. The timing is too perfect. Both the Earth vessels and our lost beacons? James nodded grimly. Someone wants this alliance to fail. But who benefits from war between our peoples? The Shadowkin, Vera whispered. The ancient enemies of the Dominion. They've been quiet for centuries, but our deep space sensors have detected increased activity in the void between galaxies. Working together through the night, James and Vera uncovered a web of conspiracy that stretched across both their civilizations. Corrupt military officers, ancient secret societies, and the mysterious Shadowkin all played parts in a grand design to trigger war between Earth and the Dominion. As the first sun began to rise, James and Vera stood together at his window. We can stop this, he said, but it will mean defying both our governments. I'll be branded a traitor to Earth. And I will be seen as betraying my people's ancient laws, Vera replied. Her hand found his again. But perhaps that's the price of progress. The price of peace. James turned to her, protocol and caution finally breaking. He pulled her close, and their lips met in a kiss that seemed to make the very crystals of Luminara sing. When they parted, both knew there was no turning back. Whatever comes, Vera whispered, we face it together. The second sun began to rise, and with it, the promise of either a new dawn for both their peoples or the beginning of an interstellar war that would reshape the galaxy. James Barrett, diplomat of Earth, and Princess Vera, heir to the stellar dominion, had chosen their path. Now they had to convince both their worlds that love could bridge the gulf between stars. The emergency council session erupted into chaos the moment the holograms appeared. Floating above the crystal dais, images showed James and Vera's midnight meeting, their embrace, their kiss. James stood rigid, facing the accusations, while Vera maintained her royal composure despite the growing storm. Treason. Counselor Zara's voice cut through the tumult. The human spy has corrupted our princess. First speaker Theron raised his hands for silence. Princess Vera, explain yourself. Why were you meeting with the Earth diplomat in secret? Because some truths cannot be spoken in open council, Vera's voice rang clear. While you debate protocol, the Shadowkin manipulate us all toward war. The chamber erupted again, but a new presence silenced the chaos. Emperor Solarin, Vera's father, emerged from his meditation chamber for the first time in months. His form seemed to shimmer with barely contained energy, his eyes holding the wisdom of centuries. Daughter, his voice resonated through the chamber. You risk everything for this human? Father, I risk everything for truth. James and I have uncovered evidence of Shadowkin infiltration in both our governments. The lost beacons, the Earth vessels, all orchestrated to push us toward conflict. James stepped forward, knowing his next words could mean his life. Your Majesty, I transmit now proof of corruption within Earth's military command. Admiral Hammond has been compromised by Shadowkin influence. The unauthorized fleet movements were his doing. The Emperor's gaze pierced James. And you betray your own people so easily, Commander Barrett? I betray no one by exposing truth, James replied firmly. My loyalty is to peace between our peoples. The Shadowkin are the true enemy, manipulating us all from the darkness between stars. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms blared through the Crystal City. The chamber's walls blazed with warning signals as defense systems activated. Multiple ships emerging from hyperspace. A security officer reported. Earth signatures, and something else. Energy patterns unlike anything in our records. James and Vera exchanged glances. The Shadowkin were forcing their hand. Father, Vera stepped forward. Let us prove what we say. The Earth fleet approaches under Admiral Hammond's orders, but they are not alone. The Shadowkin reveal themselves at last. The Emperor raised his hand, and a vast holographic display filled the chamber. The space above Luminara bloomed with light as ships emerged, Earth's rogue fleet, led by Hammond's dreadnought, and among them, strange vessels that seemed to drink in light itself. Shadowkin capital ships, Theron whispered in horror. The ancient texts spoke true. Your Majesty, James addressed the Emperor directly. Let me contact the Earth ships. Many of those crews don't know they're being used as pawns. A tense moment passed before the Emperor nodded. James activated his comm unit, broadcasting on all Earth frequencies. This is Commander James Barrett to Earth Fleet. Admiral Hammond has betrayed both Earth and the Dominion. Look to your sensors, you travel with humanity's ancient enemy. The Shadowkin manipulate us all. The chamber waited in tense silence. Then, incredibly, ships began breaking formation. Several Earth vessels pulled away from Hammond's flagship, their commanders refusing to fire on Luminara. But the Admiral's voice thundered through the comm, Barrett, you traitor. Earth will never bow to alien dominance. If some of our ships lack the courage to fight, the Shadowkin will help us claim victory. The dark ships moved, their weapons charging with impossible energy. The first shots struck Luminara's shields, making the entire Crystal City shudder. So be it, Emperor Solarin's voice was heavy with destiny. The Shadowkin forced this confrontation before we are ready, but the Dominion will not fall easily. He turned to James and Vera. Your warning comes late, but not too late. What would you advise? Vera stepped forward, her hand finding James's. Father, the ancient archives speak of weapons used against the Shadowkin in ages past. Let me access the deep vaults. And let James coordinate with the loyal Earth ships. United, we stand a better chance than divided. The Emperor studied their joined hands, then looked into their eyes. Love between our peoples was not foreseen. But perhaps that is exactly what we need. He gestured, and crystal keys materialized in the air. Go. Access the vaults. Commander Barrett, you have my authority to command any Earth vessels that stand with us. First speaker, prepare our fleet. As James and Vera raced through the crystal corridors toward the ancient vaults, explosions rocked the city. Above them, the battle for not just their love, but the future of both their peoples, was beginning. Whatever we find in the vaults, James said as they ran, whatever happens next, I want you to know. Vera squeezed his hand. I know. And our love will light the way forward, even in the darkest space between stars. They reached the vault doors just as another explosion shook the city. The final trial of their forbidden romance was about to begin, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The ancient vault doors parted with a resonant hum, revealing a chamber that pulsed with living light. James and Vera rushed inside as the battle raged above their crystal city. The walls were lined with artifacts of impossible age, each thrumming with power that made James's skin tingle. There. Vera moved to a central pedestal where a sphere of pure energy floated. The Star Heart. Legend says it was used to drive back the Shadowkin in the First War. Above them, the Crystal City's defenses flared against another barrage. Through their tactical link, they heard first speaker Theron's voice. Hammond's forces are pressing our western quadrant. The Shadowkin ships are, their phase shifting through our shields. James studied the tactical displays floating in the air. The loyal Earth ships were fighting brilliantly, but they were outnumbered. The Shadowkin vessels moved like liquid darkness between stars, their weapons tearing holes in reality itself. How does it work? James asked, watching as Vera's hands danced over the Star Heart's controls. It's a resonance weapon, she explained, her fingers trailing through streams of light. The Shadowkin exist partially out of phase with our reality. The Star Heart can force them fully into our dimension, making them vulnerable. Another explosion rocked the vault. Through their comm link, Emperor Solarin's voice rang out, "The outer shields are failing. Vera, if you found something, we need it now." Vera's hands moved faster, interfacing with the ancient technology. "Father, the Star Heart needs time to charge." And? She hesitated, looking at James. "It requires 2 operators. One Luminaran, one, of another race. The harmonics of different species are needed to target the Shadowkin." James stepped forward without hesitation. "Tell me what to do." "It could kill you," she whispered. "Human physiology was never meant to channel this kind of energy." He took her hand. "Better to die trying to save both our peoples than live with their destruction." Above them, Admiral Hammond's voice boomed through all channels, "This is your final warning. Surrender the Crystal City, or we'll let the Shadowkin tear it apart piece by piece." Vera squared her shoulders. "James, place your hands here and here. Our minds will need to synchronize completely. Are you ready?" "For you," he said softly, "I'm ready for anything." They joined hands over the Star Heart, and the world exploded into light. James felt Vera's consciousness merge with his own, their memories and emotions flowing together like twin rivers. He saw her childhood in the crystal spires, felt her loneliness as a princess bound by ancient laws. She experienced his years of diplomatic training, his secret dreams of finding something extraordinary among the stars. The Star Heart pulsed between them, drawing on their joined strength. Through their merged awareness, they could sense the battle above in perfect clarity. The Shadowkin ships were moving in for the kill, their dark energy weapons charging. Now, they cried together, their voices harmonizing in frequencies that made the vault crystals sing. The Star Heart erupted, sending a wave of pure resonance energy cascading outward. Where it touched the Shadowkin ships, their phase-shifting technology failed. The dark vessels snapped fully into normal space, their impossible geometries suddenly vulnerable to conventional weapons. "All ships, concentrate fire on the Shadowkin." James/Vera commanded through their joined consciousness. Earth vessels and Luminaran battlecruisers coordinated their attacks with perfect precision, their weapons tearing through the now exposed Shadowkin fleet. But Admiral Hammond's dreadnought pressed its attack. "You've betrayed humanity, Barrett. We'll never bow to alien influence." Through their merged minds, James and Vera reached out to the Earth crews. "Look at your sensors," their joined voice rang out. "The Shadowkin used you, corrupted your admiral. You fight alongside humanity's greatest enemy." The tide turned. Ship after ship in Hammond's fleet stood down as their crews realized the truth. The admiral's dreadnought found itself alone, surrounded by combined Earth and Luminaran forces. In the vault, James felt his strength failing. The Star Heart's energy was burning through him, even as it kept the remaining Shadowkin ships vulnerable. Vera sensed his pain through their link. "Hold on," her thoughts caressed his mind. "Just a little longer." Above, the battle reached its crescendo. Hammond's dreadnought launched a final, desperate attack on the Crystal City, but the combined fleet's weapons caught it in a crossfire. The massive ship split apart in a cascade of explosions, taking the last of the Shadowkin vessels with it. In the vault, James collapsed into Vera's arms as the Star Heart's energy finally faded. Their minds slowly separated, but something of their connection remained, a bridge between their souls that could never be fully broken. "The city is saved," Emperor Solarin's voice came through their comms. "The Shadowkin fleet is destroyed. But we have much to rebuild, and much to reconsider about our old laws." James looked up at Vera, his body weak but his heart stronger than ever. "Think they'll still object to a human Luminaran romance after we just saved the galaxy?" Vera's laugh was like crystal chimes in the wind. "They can try. But I think we've proved that love between stars is not just possible, it's powerful enough to change the course of history." As emergency teams rushed to secure the city and heal the wounded, James and Vera held each other in the ancient vault, their love having proven stronger than darkness itself. But both knew that while the battle was won, the greater challenge of uniting their peoples still lay ahead. 3 days after the battle, the Crystal City still bore scars from the Shadowkin attack. But amid the reconstruction, a historic ceremony was taking place in the Grand Council chamber. James stood before the assembled dignitaries of both Earth and the Stellar Dominion, his diplomatic uniform replaced with ceremonial robes that sparkled with living crystal. The chamber, once a place of political tension, now hummed with anticipation. Earth's newly appointed diplomatic council sat alongside Luminaran nobles, their previous mistrust replaced by hard-won respect. The defeat of the Shadowkin had opened both societies' eyes to the possibility, and necessity, of true cooperation. Emperor Solarin's voice filled the chamber. "From the ashes of conflict, we forge new bonds. The Shadowkin sought to divide us, but instead, they revealed the strength we possess when united." His gaze swept the assembly. "Today, we do more than sign treaties. We embrace a new vision for both our peoples." Vera stepped forward, resplendent in robes that shifted like starlight. The wounds from the battle had healed, but her eyes held new wisdom, tempered by fire and sacrifice. "The ancient laws that kept our peoples apart were born of fear," she addressed the gathering. "But love proved stronger than fear. Stronger than darkness itself." James watched her with pride, remembering their joined consciousness during the battle, the perfect harmony they had achieved. That connection had faded, but something profound remained, a bridge between their souls that transcended species. First Speaker Theron unveiled a crystal pedestal bearing the new Galactic Accord. "This agreement does more than establish peace," he announced. "It creates the framework for a true alliance between Earth and the Dominion. Shared technology, cultural exchange, mutual defense, and yes, the freedom for our peoples to forge personal bonds." The signing ceremony proceeded with all the gravity such a moment deserved. But it was what came next that would truly make history. Emperor Solarin rose from his crystal throne. "There is one more matter to address." Commander James Barrett, step forward. James approached the throne, his heart steady. He had faced death in the vault, merged consciousness with an alien princess, and helped save 2 civilizations. Whatever came next, he was ready. "You proved yourself not just Earth's diplomat, but a true friend to the Dominion," the Emperor's voice softened. "And to my daughter. The old laws would forbid what I am about to do, but the old laws nearly drove us to destruction." He gestured to Vera, who joined them before the throne. "The Star Heart showed us truth," Vera said, taking James's hand. "When our minds merged, it wasn't just 2 individuals connecting, it was proof that our people's differences can become our greatest strength." A murmur ran through the assembly as the Emperor raised his hands. "Let it be known that on this day, we not only unite our civilizations but bless the union of 2 hearts that dared to love across the stars. James Barrett, do you accept the responsibilities of joining the Royal House of Luminara, of serving as a bridge between our peoples?" James met Vera's galaxy-deep eyes. "With all my heart, Your Majesty." The ceremony that followed blended Earth and Luminaran traditions. As James and Vera exchanged vows, the Crystal City itself seemed to sing, its spires resonating with frequencies of joy. The Star Heart, now safely contained, pulsed in harmony with their words. But it was more than a wedding. As the Emperor placed the crystal crown upon James's head, as Vera's hand warm in his own, they were forging something unprecedented, a symbol of hope for both their peoples. The stars once seemed to separate us, Vera addressed the assembly, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. Now they are bridges between us. What we build today will echo through generations. James squeezed her hand. Love across the stars isn't just possible, he added, it's essential. It reminds us that no matter our origins, our hearts beat to the same cosmic rhythm. As the three sons of Luminara set that evening, James and Vera stood on their private balcony, watching ships from Earth and the Dominion moving together through the stellar lanes. Construction had already begun on joint research facilities, cultural centers, and diplomatic exchanges. Having second thoughts about marrying an alien? Vera teased, her head resting on his shoulder. James laughed. Only about whether I can master all these royal protocols. Though after facing down the shadow kin, official dinners seem less intimidating. We'll face it all together, she said softly. Just like in the vault. Their kiss was witnessed only by the stars, the same stars that had once seemed to keep them apart, now shining witness to a love that had changed the course of two civilizations. In the years that followed, the story of the human diplomat and the alien princess became legend. But more than that, it became a blueprint for a future where love knew no boundaries, where difference bred strength, and where the space between stars was no longer a barrier but a bridge to infinite possibilities.